Welcome back. It's time now to tell you what's happening in commodities. Manisha Gupta joins in as always. Hi, Manisha.
Well, thank you for that. I'm looking at the base metal prices where we have seen a fourth straight day of decline come in. There is sell-off in other equities and asset classes as well, which seems to be weighing on. And then the US Fed was on expected lines. Markets were hoping for some further stimulus talk at least, or measures to, put support to economy. That did not happen, and that also led to some disappointment in the markets here. The strength in US dollar, the rising COVID cases, and the Chinese demand slowing down also seems to be weighing onto the metal prices right now. And then it also is about unwinding in metals ahead of the Lunar New Year holidays. Those 16 days of holidays start between 11th Feb to 26th of Feb. So we are looking at some easy volumes coming in from China as well. If you look at the week-on-week and YTD metal report card on the screens right now, we have seen many of these metals putting a negative report card for this week. Anywhere between 1 to 3.5% of a decline is what we are seeing. Zinc clearly has been an underperformer. We've seen 3% of a cut overnight, and zinc is now 5% on the weaker side in this year, negative into this year as well. The only metal that actually is doing quite well for itself has been the nickel prices. It's also down 2% in this week, but then 8% up in the month of January, and that comes in on the back of EV demand expectations. So everything that has to do with EV, whether it's nickel, copper, iron ore, cobalt, lithium, these are the kind of metals which really seem to be trading firm.
Manisha, thank you very much for joining us with that. Very interesting. Let's move on and get in Mr. Hardyal Prasad, Managing Director and CEO at PNB Housing Finance. They reported numbers for the third quarter, and numbers are, we want to understand this because it's quite interesting and puzzling. So we basically have, we've seen disbursals which are at a 5-quarter high, sir, for you, but AUMs have degrown by the largest number in any quarter. It's the highest ever degrowth in assets under management. What explains this, sir?
Our AUM is at almost about 77,700 crore, and and with about almost 83% of that AUM is contributed by the retail. Last year, in August, the company had decided that it is not going to go forward with the corporate loan and only the loans that are on the books. The further disbursements will take place only on that. Since April, there have been a significant movement in terms of the corporate loan degrowth that we wanted. So there has been a sell down, and there has also been the repayments. And then in some of the accounts there have been accelerated repayments. So today we stand at the corporate book stands at almost 17%, with a reduction of almost about 9% coming in the last 9 months only. I think that's one of the reasons that the corporate book showing a little declining trend, and the normal repayments that come on the if you really look at on the retail book, that's another reason that comes in. There has been a little bit of a runoff also on the retail side, but more or less we have been able to contain it with almost the normal run rate, the runoffs that are there. So if one really looks at it, the last quarter has been absolutely fantastic in terms of the disbursement. The disbursements have gone up by 14% if you compare it with Q3 of FY20. I think those are some of the very, very important things that are happening now in the real estate sector, especially in this company.
Right. So could you tell us, just sticking with that AUM point, how has the individual housing loans moved for you in the AUM? Yeah.
Individual housing loan have also degrown. One of the major reason is that for almost about 2 quarters there was absolutely no activity that took place. There is significant repayment as against a housing book repayment of almost about 10 to 15 years. We have a portfolio which gets repaid almost in about 5 years on an average. So that's one of the reasons that the normal repayment takes place, and the repayment was coming in. So that is also one of the major reasons why the degrowth has taken place. Many of the banks and also a few of the HFCs became very aggressive in terms of the interest rate regime that they were quoting. And the banks have an advantage of lower cost of funds. And therefore, there have been some takeovers also by some of these banks. This happened and this continued till about September, October. And since then, we have actually reduced our interest rate on 3 occasions. And that's one of the major reasons that we have arrested it significantly. it's almost at a pre-COVID level, the runoffs. With the disbursement that will come in, we will find that the retail book will also show very, very healthy growth that starts coming in.
So, if you can share some outlook on the coming few quarters in terms of your asset quality, in terms of the growth that you expect in individual segments?
We are expecting very good growth. One of the most important things that the company has actually rolled out is a new agenda with completely strengthening its core, is driving efficiency, as well as actually ensuring that there is accelerated growth. What we have seen in the last quarter, we expect that to continue. One of the biggest reason is that there's a huge amount of push that is coming in on the affordable housing. In the last few years, the company made massive efforts to ramp up these numbers, and especially within the affordable, if you look at it, we have a portfolio Unnati, which is very, very good portfolio. Now, both these portfolio with the activity pushing and moving to tier 2, tier 3, we anticipate that the growth story will continue. I am also expecting that there will be some major changes that the budget could offer. The state governments have already done it. The center also came out with some stimulus packages. And all these things put together, in our opinion, are creating the right environment for the real estate sector to grow. In terms of the delinquency, in terms of the, yeah.
No, go ahead. You were telling us about the asset quality outlook.
On the asset quality, it is going to take almost about 1 to 2 quarters for the normalization to take place. We are almost at the January level, in terms January 2020 level on the collection efficiency. So the collection efficiency has come back. However, people are definitely sitting on the fringe waiting for the Supreme Court unfreezing, as well as some directions that could come or the guidance that could come from the regulatory side also. Once all these things are cleared, we expect that the delinquency the asset quality will improve significantly. One of the biggest things that we can see when we slice and dice the data and look at our portfolio is that our portfolio consists of people who are almost at about 45. They are second, third generation businessmen. They have done exceedingly well. They have deep pockets. And the exposure that we have in areas and sectors which were COVID affected are very few. There are only garments, we have auto ancillaries, we have jewelry. Other than that, it's more or less barricaded. So we expect that we should be in a position to very quickly come out of it and the asset quality will improve. The security that we hold against any asset is also absolutely great in terms of almost 1.5 to 2 times the security. These are all some ominous signs that once things normalize, we should see a very, very good environment in terms of the asset quality improvements.
Right. So, so you're looking to raise money. Can you tell us by when should we expect that? Is it going to be via QIP? And two, can you sort of leave us with some guidance on where you can be in terms of returns on assets? But I mean, by the end of the year and say over the next 6 months or so, what's your aim?
We have a strong capital position if you really look at it, with gearing at almost 7.3 times. And also if you look at our CRAR on the Ind AS terms, it is almost 20. So one is that I want to bring back that confidence that the company has reduced its gearing ratio. And secondly, the CRAR has improved to 20%, which was almost at about 18% in March. The second thing is that in August, it was announced that we will be raising funds through rights and preferential. We were waiting for permission to come from Reserve Bank of India. PNB is very hopeful that they will receive the permission. But because of the long-term benefits that capital could provide in terms of cost of borrowings and other benefits that on the growth front, we decided to seek permission from the board for adding QIP also. And we are very happy that the board agreed to it and the QIP has been added. And we will be going forward with raising money. Probably we are going to start the process very quickly. And I'm sure that in about 60 to 90 days, we should be in a position to complete the process, at least of the QIP. We finally decide to go ahead with it. So I think overall, the capital is good. We will be having more capital, which will help us significantly in our growth trajectory.
Fair enough, Mr. Prasad. We'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining in and look forward to chatting with you once you do that fundraise as well. But let's shift attention. Remember,